Welcome back to the Sound Meets Sound podcast. My guest today is Lupe 8. She's a returning guest, so if you haven't listened to her first episode, go and listen to that one also. Today, Lupe is going to demystify hypnotherapy for us and talk more about what it involves and how she got into it. Enjoy.
Welcome again, Lupe 8, to
Thank you.
Sound Meets Sound podcast. I'm
Thank
very
you, Meg.
excited. Yes, thanks for being here. We had some technical gremlins going on, and we just completed a little breathing exercise. So I got a sort of bonus little session with Lupe before our meeting here. It's always, that's the podcaster's life, is trusting the technology. Last time you were here, we talked a lot about your origin story, which is usually what we do on Sound Meets Sound, and it was fascinating. If you haven't listened to Lupe's first episode, please go listen to it. It's a story, very interesting story for someone who's only been on the planet for, can I say how old you are?
Yeah,
33
sure.
years.
Yeah.
I think we're past that as a society of women hiding their ages.
I love aging.
Yes.
I've always looked forward to it.
Yeah, it's a privilege that not everyone gets. So, yes. So today I thought, since we talked about your origin story last time, and we talked a lot about your life as a musician, we could talk, I think we both want to talk this time more about your life as a hypnotherapist. We touched on that in the last episode, but I think it's just so interesting how you went from, I'm going to be this, wild rock star to, in my 20s, to I'm going to be this hypnotherapist, which I think is sort of the opposite of wild. It's certainly been a wild ride for me. For people listening who don't know, Lupe is my hypnotherapist. She was my first, and I'm going to stop talking soon, I promise. My first introduction to hypnotherapy. I thought this stuff is weird and it's not going to work for me. And of course, after the first session with Lupe, I was like, oh my gosh, this is amazing. And I misunderstood what hypnotherapy was. And it has truly been life-changing. So, if you could talk a little bit about, I don't know, maybe just talk at first, like what hypnotherapy is. And I know you've done this on your social media. Like, I think it does need demystifying for a lot of people.
Yeah, Meg. Well, thank you for that intro. You're definitely life-changing for me as well. You are one of the people I grow so much with in session because of the length of our work together. So it's mutual. And so what is hypnotherapy? I love that question. And yes, I've been sharing a lot about that in my social media, because there's definitely this idea of hypnosis being this sort of mind control. There's these stage hypnotists that put the people to sleep on stage. And I don't know, I've never seen a stage hypnotist, but I know there's this whole idea that, they kind of control you or manipulate you. And well, hypnotherapy couldn't be more far from that, because what we do in hypnosis, in self-hypnosis, or when someone is your therapist, is accessing the theta state of the brain. The brain has different states in which it operates, and the theta state is the one that we access when we are about to fall asleep, when we're doing things in automatic, basically when the rational mind, when the conscious mind it's not on the front side, right? It's not on the spotlight. So we basically go to the back. There's even a specific part of the head, of the brain, where the subconscious mind is located. And we basically enter that space where memories, beliefs, trauma, habits, ways of doing, of thinking, or of moving are stored. And lately also it's been discovered that a huge part of the neurons working for the subconscious mind are in the neurons of the heart. So they say that we have basically our heart has so many neurons that it's like another brain, just like a stomach. And so what we do is we access that part of us that is not conditioned by what we're seeing out here in the 3D world, in the third dimension, let's say. And we entered what it's called the fourth dimension, what is the subconscious mind. And from that place, most hypnotherapists work with addictions, quit smoking, lose weight, and all those things, which are great. And I've had clients doing that, and it's fun. For me, it's almost like, oh yeah, of course we can get you to stop smoking, but why don't we check why you get so addicted to things? Like, let's go deeper than that, So what I do in my practice is guide people into connecting to this fifth dimension, which is the quantum field, which is this place where we call God, really. And I proudly say that I believe in God, and we access that place where we can listen to that voice that it's always guiding us if we listen, if we are able to listen, right? So there's this voice telling you, you're too late, you're behind, you are not going to make it, you are trash. And then if we're able to move past the layer of where that voice is, we enter in the space where there's this voice that is always right, and it's telling you, you're exactly where you need to be, you're exactly who you need to be, this is where you need to go to keep on going, and then life really becomes practice of listening to that voice.
That's very well said. The whole time I'm like, please, God, quantum level, let Zoom be recording this, let the technology work, because that was such a beautiful, beautiful, wise answer. So thank you for that. I appreciate that you sort of differentiate it from the like stage trick that many people think of when they think of hypnotherapy. So I also like how you said, and I've always liked this in our interactions, and I think it's why our sessions have worked, is you're like, of course we can get you to stop smoking. Like, you don't have any doubts about like that this is gonna work. And for me, who has always, questioned myself a lot and had a lot of self-doubt, it's like, oh, she's got all the certainty. And now I have certainty too. Like, it's great. So I love that about you as a practitioner, that you just really believe in it and yourself, because you've clearly done the work yourself. You're the director for yourself.
Well, I do my best, Meg.
Yes, I get it. That's what I've learned in our sessions is it is a practice. It's not a trick or a magic thing that just flips. And sometimes some things will magically flip, it feels like, but in the long run, it is a practice that you do every single day, sometimes every moment of every single day. So that took me a while to learn. It's like, oh, it's just like practicing scales on the piano, like.
Absolutely. And I'm really happy you're saying it, because I am a punk. I'll always be a punk. And from this place, from this new career, this new purpose that I'm in, I want to make sure that my clients know that they have the tool, that they can practice it with themselves, that they don't need me, that I'm not their guru, that I'm not their savior, that I am not nothing, more than a friend that is sharing something with you, Yes, I make a business out of this because we live in this world. But, it's very important for me to, that's why also in the past 3 years, it's been a little bit of a struggle for me on how I present myself online and stuff, which I think now I'm fine. I got it now. I'm very confident now how I'm sharing myself online and sharing my work online. But before I was like, I was so vulnerable into falling into this model of the you know, the online coach, or which is at the end, and I say it from my own experience buying programs or doing workshops or whatever, and seeing so many people just falling into this guru mindset, you know, like, oh, this is my new god, and this is, and I think we are, you know, that time is completely over. So I try to really make sure that I teach them the technique, and that they can practice it themselves.
Yeah. Yeah, and I love that about you and your approach. It's been interesting watching you navigate the social media question the past few years, and I've seen the handles change and the approach change. And I will say, in the last few months, it's like, oh, Lupe figured it out. Like, your posts are so clearly you, like, you're so in authority over the way that you're presenting yourself on social media, which can be a really tricky, much trickier thing to do if you've never tried to do it in a public facing way, when you're not just using social media to say, like, you know, here's my lunch or here's my cat, which is great. But you're saying, here is my public persona, that you know, I have a business and I have a practice and all this stuff. So that's been really great to follow. I have a few different questions from that, I think, but the spirit is really telling me, keep saying book, book, book. I really want to talk about your book right now, because I am happy to be one of the beta readers of the book that you are writing. So, and I think it is such a really cool undertaking to distill your practice into words in a single book. So if you're open to it, I'd love to hear about, like, how you got the idea to write a book, why you decided to go through with it, because lots of people say, I'm going to write a book, and then they never did. So the fact that you've done it, and what that process has been like for you, especially because I don't know when you learned English, but it's clearly, like, not clearly, it's from your story, I'm thinking it's, you know, a second language. It's not something you grew up. So I'm just so blown away that you've written a book in English, as someone who's attempted to write a book in English. So why English? Why write the book? All that kind of thing. If you could get into that, that would be great.
Yeah. Thank you, Meg. It's so exciting to talk about this. So the book started, first of all, I learned English by reading the songs of the booklets of the CDs when I was 6, 7, and I went to a bilingual school since I was 8. So I would have half of the day in Spanish, half of the day in English. So English has been my second language all my life, and wow. I've always written in English.
Really?
All my life, yeah. Wow. And I don't. I was a terrible student in Spanish, and I was on the top of the class in English. So wow. Even if I tried to speak to write in Spanish, it's not the same, you know. And I've been living abroad since I was 17. So since I was 14, I started traveling. 17, I did my first few months living abroad in the US and so on. So English really is my second language, but I think in English, I dream in English, and my English, it's in my book, even my English, it's really the way that I speak in a way. Obviously there's grammatic corrections, and it already went through all of that. But I feel there's parts that I left them raw, you know, because I have a very particular way of speaking English.
Yeah.
And there's parts that I left them raw on purpose. So I started writing this book in October 2025 when I moved from Berlin to London. And I was just moving. I was new here. My partner was working all day, and you know, I needed to create a new routine for my life in this city and so on. So my partner and I, we grow together a lot. We both do this work very profoundly. So we have so much long conversation. It's our thing, you know. We sit on the weekends and we just talk and talk and talk about things and growth and you know, how to become, you know, our better selves and so on. And so those first months that I was here, obviously we were also getting to know each other by living together. So it was this very full of so much richness of thought and conversation in those months. So I would go every Monday after our weekends and write in the park. That was the only thing I was doing here, because I didn't have friends, I didn't have a job here. So I was only starting with Become. So I was just writing and writing and writing and writing. And I started writing with chapters, you know, I already started writing with chapters like the emotional allergies. And I would write everything about the emotional allergies. And so I started collecting stuff that I would write from concepts that I've went through myself, that I've spoken with my partner, that I've, you know, things that I was starting to figure out in my own journey, and started collecting all of that. And then I started with the podcast in March 2026, February. So with the podcast, more, you know, like, okay, this chapter is going to be about this. And so I start writing about this chapter, and then I'm making the episode. And so I started collecting a lot of chapters, really. And then in October last year, as you know, I miscarried my first child, Mackenzie, and that really had a really strong effect on me. I was like out of order, out of service for like 2 months. I was grieving really strongly. And when January started, being here in London, that it's dark and it's cold, the automatic response of someone who is going through such a profound grief would be just stay in bed and keep on grieving. My response was, fuck that shit. Let's get up and let's do it. So I did this workshop on how to write a book, that I sent you the book, remember? And so I was like, okay, how is this done? You know, and like a recipe that you follow for something that you're going to cook was okay, this, and this and that. And I started putting everything in order. What's the chapters? What's the thing? I knew that I wanted it to be something practical, really like The Artist Way from Julia Cameron. I wanted to bring that intention into the book, that it was going to be something that people were going to use it, not just read it, that they were going to learn something, they were going to practice something. So, and that was also very, very helpful to finish writing what this method, this forward motion method that I do, it's all about, and then the exercises. And next thing I knew, I've been for 2 months just writing every day for 6-7 hours, like a person that I am, which is crazy, really, you know. And next thing I know, the book was done.
Well, yeah, 6-7 hours, that's a lot of time to write. Like, that's a lot of focused time.
Yeah.
I can't imagine writing for 6 or 7 hours straight. So, yeah, I'm not surprised that you were like, oh wait, I have a book now. I guess and I really liked. I only got to skim the book so far, the draft. Although it looks very much like a finished book. So I doubt I'll have much useful feedback for you. But I really liked the practical section, the practices section. I thought, yeah, that's very much like The Artist's Way, where you're not just describing your method, but you're just showing us how to do it. So yeah, that's very cool.
Yeah. And it's what I made sure to, hopefully, you know, it's coming through. And now with you and the other 3 people that are reading it right now and gonna give me the feedback on, to see if, you know, because I'm explaining there exactly the technique of self-hypnosis, and I suggest there, record this on your phone and use it every time before each practice. You know, all I want is for you guys to have it, you know?
Yeah, yeah, that's great. The whole teach a man to fish thing. He can feed himself for life or whatever. Um, so I love that approach that you have to the book. And the podcast too. So I wanted to ask about the podcast and how that came about and the inspiration for that. And also, like, when you sit down as someone, obviously, who runs a podcast, and I'll occasionally do the talk to audience type of episode, how you when you know how you decide what to talk about and then sit down and talk about it, like how you prepare for that. And also just congratulations, I think you published your 49th episode. There's a couple yesterday. So that's very exciting. This is episode 34 of Sound Meets Sound, so that's very exciting. You're almost at 50 episodes. I think in a recent episode you said something like you wanted 100 by a certain time. Your goal was like 100 by October or something?
Someone told me that as a podcaster, you haven't started until you reach the 150. So I want to reach 150 this year.
Gotcha.
Yeah. But let's see. It's a wild take. I mean, it's a wild take. It's 101 more episodes, but I think it could be done. Let's see.
Yeah, I believe in you. But also I know that we both believe that these kinds of goals are guides, not
yeah. It's like I'll do my best, you know. I'll put a realistic goal and then an ideal goal, you know?
Right. Yeah.
And you know, realistic goal is 1 episode per week, and which I most of the weeks do. Sometimes I don't. Really rarely I don't. Last week I didn't. And then the ideal goal would be 150 this year, so that next year I start already like, okay, we got this now. You know, it's just for fun, really. It's just for fun. Not. It's just goals that I put for myself, not for any sort of outcome or expectation that I have.
Right.
Really.
Yeah. I like fun goals like that. So that is a lot once a week. So do you have like a specific process? Do you sort of like, oh wait, you just sort of, or do you have it like all planned out? Like, what is your process with that?
Yeah, no, I don't have it all planned out. Basically, most of the times it's what's been going through my life on that week. Most of the times it's that, because I'm constantly in this. So it's like, oh, this week's been that, you know? So boom, this episode. When I don't have that, and that mostly happens when, for example, I've been having a rough week or I've been a little bit down, and I'm like, I don't even know what to talk about. Then I'll just grab the book and like go through the book, and I'm like, oh, let's talk about this today, you know? And I just tailor a little bit the script, and
So it sounds like the book and the podcast kind of have fed each other in terms of the creation of that content. And the discussions with your partner, I'm sort of realizing as you're saying all that, like how important thinking out loud is. You know, that's kind of what a book or a podcast to audience podcast is thinking out loud. And it's sort of like the social media thing too, of like being out loud, you know, and having this relationship with the outside world that's not necessarily person to person, but like to many people. So I think that is fascinating. Just my brain is processing that as you say it. And with the podcast, I really enjoy listening to it. It's in my regular rotation of podcasts I listen to, and I think I'm a little jealous at how comfortably you do that. You just sit and talk to the audience, you know, and that's not to minimize what you're doing, just sit. It's actually just a great amount of I think courage and belief in yourself to be able to say, I have something important to say, and people want to. There will be people there who want to hear it, and I think I'm still getting there as a podcaster. I'm overthinking it. And this was your last episode. It's like I'm overthinking. I'm like,
Yeah.
Who am I to what do I have to say?
Mm-hmm.
And yet, you do it, and I'm like, yeah, I'm glad she said that out loud. Like I needed to hear that. So
I love that. Well,
yeah.
I mean, I don't know if I go as, oh, I have something important to say. I just go as, I have something to say. It might not be important to anyone. For me, you know what, Meg? I think it's because you've been a pianist. You've been on the piano mostly. I mean, I know you've had other projects where you were on the microphone and stuff, but I've been a front woman my whole life. It's so easy for me to grab the microphone and talk to people. It's what I like the most. It's what I love the most. It's what it's the most exciting part of my work. When I grab the microphone, even if I'm alone here, for me it's the same energy. Hello, my friends are here. I'm on it.
That's excellent. I hadn't connected those dots because in the last episode we talked about how you started out singing. Was it flamenco?
Tango.
Tango singing. Sorry.
Yeah, I wish it would be flamenco.
Tango singing, and then and your something cult. What is it? The band that you were in.
The Mafia Club.
Mafia Club, not cult. Mafia Club. Right, with a K. For some reason that made me think of cult.
It was a bit of a cult.
Yeah, the way you described it. Yeah, that whole, I mean, it really was like, yeah, that rock star experience of, but yeah, that your comfort with taking the microphone and talking to people that you don't necessarily even know, you're just sort of on the stage singing or talking to people. So that's interesting to tie that was like your training ground, those experiences for what you're doing now.
Yeah.
So yeah, okay, we hit the book and the podcast. I did want to hit a little bit. We talked about it a little bit in the last podcast, but how you got to hypnotherapy, because to me it does, like tango singing, Mafia Club, like, and hypnotherapy, these seem like diametrically opposed things.
Yeah, they are.
How your journey, the practical journey, but also the like inner journey going from that to this, if you could expand on that.
Yeah, it's really by the book. I was in my late 20s, playing music and touring with a band. I've been touring with Mafia Club, then I was touring alone, then I was touring with a new band, and it just by the book, too much of everything. Have to go back home to my parents. First time in almost 10 years, I was like, I can't, like, I need help. Went back home. And when I went back to Argentina, it was really crazy because I was having depression at that moment. I was having a big depression, and from a lot of unprocessed things from many years of rushing into life, really. And so I applied. Basically, my parents said, "Hey, like, it's all good, but you need a job. So, like, get yourself a job, and like, then we can talk about whatever you want to do with your life, but you need to get yourself a job." So I started applying to, like, I don't know, so many jobs. I would wake up every morning and like start applying, change my CV and like apply and change my CV and apply, to every job possible I could. And this was 2023. So the online work thing was still a lot of offer. Now I think there's still a lot, but it has changed again. So one of the applications that I sent was to the RTT Hypnotherapy School for Marisa Peer, which is one of the, I think, top 10 hypnotherapists in the world. And I was like, well, this would be cool, because I mean, I had heard about hypnotherapy before, but I've never done it. I was like, this would be cool because it would really help me also. And so applied. 1-2 months passed, and then my depression was like getting worse and worse and worse. And I've never been like that in my life. Also, I was like clinically depressed, and I went to my best friend, said like, it's all good with your like shamanic witchy stuff, but you're not well, so we're gonna go see a psychiatrist. I said, okay, looks like shit has hit the fan, obviously, because this happening. So I went to see a psychiatrist. He suggested I start a treatment with 3 different pills. And I was like, okay, so I'm basically like corroded, like what's going on with me? It's like, well, you're clearly depressed. You are suffering from severe anxiety. So those, one's for depression, one's for anxiety, and the other one is for you to sleep better. And I was like, look, if I'm going to take drugs, I'm going to have fun while taking the drugs. And he was like, Lupe, that's what took you here. So you better grow up, man. I was like, okay, let me think for a week, and I'll make my decision in 1 week. I'll let you know. And basically I took the order for the prescription and everything. Yeah. And that week I got called by the RTT Hypnotherapy School for an interview. Mm-hmm. And they interview me and they hire me. And when they hire me for the sales team to sell the RTT, the certification of rapid transformational therapy. And they trained me on coaching. They basically gave me the certification, which I studied on my own. Like I would work from 5 a.m. till 1 p.m. And then the rest of the day I would study hypnotherapy and start practicing hypnotherapy with me. And within 2 weeks of doing that, I was fine. Wow. I said, no, I'm not going to take the pills. I'm going to try this. 2 weeks after 2.5 months of being clinically depressed. Mm-hmm. And then I started like, okay, I'm starting to feel well again. Okay, I'm starting to have energy again. I am recovering my creativity. I'm feeling good again. And it started happening. And then I get booked to go play in Berlin again. And I said, ay, devil's calling. What shall we do? Okay, hello, I'm coming. And yeah, and so I went back to Berlin, went to play Garbage Festival for the second time. Mm-hmm. And when I arrived there, I realized I was not the same person anymore. I didn't want to take drugs. I didn't want to hang out with the same people. I didn't want to be there. I just wanted to play my show and go home. And that was when my process, what I speak a lot about in my work, with this process of grieving my old identity started. Because it was so confusing. I've worked my whole 20s to play in these festivals. I'm here now. I'm not depending on a band. I'm not depending on anyone. It's my music. It's my show. And I don't want it anymore. And so, and that started a process in which I also realized my family was happy with me. I was happy with my family. I was healthy. I was making good decisions. And so I was like, I remember my grandma, because my grandma was my first, I practiced hypnotherapy with my grandma for over a year.
I love
and
that.
Yeah, she was my first practicant. And she used to tell me, Lupe, you have something here. Like you should pay attention because there's something here. And so it was a long process from being the rock star, and I want to, you know, conquer the world with my rock and roll attitude, to look, that's not me. At least not anymore, you know. And then I needed to finish an album with my band in Spain, so I went and we finished the album. I had 2 shows in Barcelona by myself, great gigs. Then went back to Berlin, had my last gig as Momo G in Cado Blau, which was my best gig ever. After that gig, which was first days of April of 2024, I posted online. I said, Momo G is gone. Like, it's over. It's been 7 years and I'm done. And then I got booked again to play this show that, you know, I put the band in 1 week. And that was the first show that I did as 8x8. I was already not Momo G anymore. I was 8x8. And then after that gig is that my partner and I decided, let's move together. So I moved to London, and like being here in London, all of a sudden I didn't have the pressure of booking gigs or anything like that. And I realized, fuck, I'm so happy about it. You know, I'm so happy about it. I don't want to go to a party. I don't want to be late at night. I don't want to know anything about that. And so little by little, you know, I realized that that hypnotherapy was not only incredibly healing, but also that I was really good at doing it. And so that's kind of the story of how it went with the hypnotherapy, from the music to the hypnotherapy.
Yeah. It's interesting that, you started on it and then you got that invitation to go back to your old life, and realized you had gotten what you needed out of that phase of your life, and you're like, okay, it's not that clean when it happens at the time. It's not like, oh, I've had these great shows and now it's time to move on. It's like, no, I thought obviously we were talking about this yesterday, it's like in our session, like as a musician, it can be, I'm sure with any art, it can be hard to let go of that striving, oh, I've got to book all the gigs and it is an identity you have to mourn,
Absolutely, yeah.
Especially since a lot of musicians, and both of us, we started as children, so it's not just like an adult identity. It's like a deeply baked in part of our identity. So I can, but it's so great that the universe gave you that gift and you, those great shows as you were grieving and transitioning into a different identity. And now, for me, at least, that's the way I approach music now, is like anything else is gravy. Like I played an organ concert a few years ago and I was like, I had already retired that identity, but I was like, you know what? This is gravy. Like I get to play the organ for 45 minutes and, so it's like, or I recorded and release a new song. It's like, now I just can enjoy it, like as you help me understand, I am an accomplished musician. You are an accomplished musician. We've done that. And now we can just do music for the pure joy of it, we're not proving anything to anyone or ourselves anymore about it.
And also I've a lot of people that I admired back in the days, and I mean I still do, I just have no idea what they're doing now, but that I saw it all, and you too, from a really young age. And Meg, having the privilege to be an artist, to be a musician, to know that you can sit in the organ and play 45 minutes any day of the week. I can grab the microphone and rock the hell out of it any day of the week, but I don't need to produce anything for example, for a massive amount of fans, for example, that are waiting for my next album. They're waiting for me to drop another hit like the one that it's freedom. It's absolute freedom, and it definitely takes some time to to understand that.
Yeah, to move from, oh no, what happened to my identity, to, oh, look at what a blessing I had, because I've met a lot of people who didn't have that kind of focusing element in their childhood, who were like, I so wish I had known what I wanted to do as a child moving into like college age or, career age. So yeah, being able to look back and say, yes, that was a huge blessing. I also want to point out that probably one of Momoji's last acts was to remix one of my songs
That's true.
on my album that I can't remember the name of. I'm really bad with like remembering names of things. Hence, like cults.
Now you
like,
made me forget it, because
I
would know it. I would know it. I can't
yeah.
right now.
But
That was a weird thing I made for the remix, but I love it. Yeah,
I love it.
Definitely. Yeah, definitely one of the last things. Yeah.
Yeah, I loved that remix. Still do. I'm looking at my notes here. We've actually sort of organically touched on, because I wrote down Finding Your Identity, Finding Your Purpose podcast, book. We've really touched on all the things I wanted to talk with you. It's been such a rich, excellent conversation. Please let the Zoom gods.
Yes, they must have
deliver this.
recorded it. I think they must have done it.
I need to start every podcast with a breathing exercise and a prayer to the technology.
Right? It makes it so
demons.
much better. It makes it so much better. I learned that when I was playing music before. Like I would see the difference between me just going on stage on the frenzy, like okay, now on stage, then me just like having a moment of prayer before going, and it was so different.
Yeah,
it's just so different.
Yeah, it's true. Like, I'd be curious to go back on stage sometime after having done hypnotherapy, because so much of what you're doing, especially when you first step on stage, is adrenaline management. You are managing this huge surge of like adrenaline just pulsing through your body, and which is great because it gets you through those first few moments of like, oh, I'm on stage. But I feel like being better at breathing, which I think I am now, and just better at being self-aware. It would be really fascinating to go on stage with this new self-awareness.
Yeah. I mean, with all the technological advances, Meg, and everything, I sometimes think maybe we're gonna end up living again 500 years or something, like they used to live. According to some crazy books, people used to live like 900 years. So who knows? Maybe in 100 years from now, we're gonna be in a band, like
right.
you know.
Yes.
Who knows?
Yeah, I would love that. That would be so much fun.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, how do you want people to connect with you? Do you want people to connect with you? You want to talk about your socials or your website or whatever?
Of course I want them to connect with me. My Instagram is finally very clear. It's lupe.8. And my podcast is Become the Director. That's the same name of my upcoming book, Become the Director. We don't have a date yet, but we'll make sure to let everyone know. And yeah, that's how I find me now.
It's and 8 is spelled out, Lupe.8?
Yeah, it's Lupe spelled out 8.
Okay, cool.
Yeah.
Yes, go follow Lupe. And yeah, the podcasts, they're so great because they're usually like 10-15 minutes long, so it's just like this nice hit of like a nice hit of Lupe before starting the day.
Yeah, absolutely.
I'm just drawing this out because I don't want to say goodbye, but this has been a really great conversation. Is there anything that you were wanting to talk about that we didn't talk about today?
I think we had a great conversation, Meg. I had such a wonderful time. And that was so awesome. I thank you so much for the space. I love your podcast. I love these conversations. And thank you to everyone who's been listening. It's been a pleasure to share myself with you guys.
It's been a pleasure to have you on the podcast again. And yes, thank you, listeners. I should do that more. Thank you, dear listeners. Thank you for
Yeah.
joining us on
Okay.
Sound with Sound.
Thank you, Meg.